Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and today we are doing this little mushroom tutorial.
It's so cute.
It's so cute. I'm really excited to show you how to do this. And the fun thing about miniature paintings is you can actually, because they're such a small area, we can get through them pretty quickly. So I'm excited to show you some projects that won't take you hours and hours and hours. This piece of paper here is 2.5 by 2.5, and it fits within this 3-inch frame. I made it smaller because I like to see the edges, but that is completely up to you. I'm going to show you guys how to draw mushrooms, and then we are going to be painting this project in 4 steps where we just paint the background, the foreground, the mushrooms, and some finishing details.
Also,
Okay?
we have those frames on our website. They're super cute.
Oh, yeah. And I just realized this is the best way to gift something to someone because first of all, I know y'all have paint supplies. Okay.
Yeah.
And so basically you just need to paint, take 20 minutes and paint this miniature painting, and look how cute it is.
It's adorable.
Okay. I'm obsessed. I love it. And they're for sale on our website right now if you want to order some. All right. For the mushrooms, we're going to draw the mushrooms, and then Michael remind me to do the oath.
Okay.
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 So when it comes to mushrooms, the great thing is they wonky. Okay. There's so much, they're natural, which means that they can be a lot of different shapes and sizes. I wanted to do a red top mushroom just because I think that they're cute. I'm going to be completely transparent with you. I did zero research on all of the elements of red top mushrooms. I have no idea if these are correct, but frankly, I don't care. So all of that is to say, how I like to do mushrooms is basically you're going to have a mushroom top, and then you're just going to have the stem. Now, you can have different angles or views of the mushroom top where you can see some of the underneath or none at all. If you're going to do some where there's none at all, then basically you're just doing a U. No, like a rainbow.
Umbrella.
An umbrella, a curve, if you will. And then just an edge that's not perfectly straight. It's not too wavy either, okay? And then this is the body. Ba-bam.
Boom.
And then I like to do little white chunks on it, okay? Now, if we wanted to have some of the underneath part, like we're seeing underneath it a little bit, then that's where we're going to do more of an oval, just for our basic shape. And then knowing that the stem is kind of coming out from the middle here. So this is where my stem is coming out. Okay. And then when I do my mushroom top, it's going to be like that. Okay. So the oval is just to give us an idea. The other thing that you can do if you don't want to start with the oval is you could do a half circle, and then this lip right here, instead of it going all the way down, it would go up a little bit. And then that way you could see under.
Oh, nice.
Okay. Like so. And then from here, we're going to have really thin lines that kind of go, that are all angled towards the center of the stem.
Gills.
So. Gills. Yes. Now, when you do the mushroom stem, you can just do a stem here. You can add little texture things. Sometimes they have little growths like so. Sometimes they have this neck ruffly thing. So here it would just be curved out and then ruffle, and then you would do thin lines wherever those ruffles end, like so. Okay.
Cute.
The other thing when it comes to mushroom tops is there's different shapes, where this was basically just a really easy kind of umbrella shape, but there are some where they're kind of more bell. Okay. Do the stem like so. I like a mushroom with personality, so I like it when they're squatty. I think they're really cute. That's why I got a squatty guy in mind. So play with these different mushroom shapes, but know that it can flare out along the edges. You can have the edges curve in. You can have the tops be, the tops don't even have to be super thick, right? You can have them be more narrow, like so. That's a valid mushroom. You can have them be super round. That's a valid mushroom, you know?
Mm-hmm.
They're all valid. All mushrooms are beautiful.
You know, since moving to Missouri, we get a lot of mushrooms that grow naturally.
Mm-hmm.
There's this mushroom that comes back year after year in our yard, and I looked it up. It's called a stinkhorn. They smell bad.
You and me both, buddy.
Stinkhorn.
Okay, so play with the different types of mushroom shapes. I will say that your personal artistic preference is going to lean towards the type of shape that you like. One is not better than the other. It just depends on what you like. So for me, because I like a squatty guy, I'm going to put a squatty guy in there. And I like a little roughly edge. So I'm going to have it be kind of medium thickness where I can see a little bit underneath and a wonky stem. But again, if you like the more narrow ones, do a narrow one. If you like a few tiny ones and you don't want to do a big and a small, do that. This is your painting. You can do whatever you want. All right, now let's do our oath and then we'll get into painting. So if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me, I promise to be kind to myself.
Promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my work.
Promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
I promise to have fun.
Thank you. Okay, now for the drawing part of our mushroom, I'm going to put in the ground. Usually I always like to have the ground start higher and then it kind of angles down. It just gives it some movement within my painting instead of being straight flat across. I'm going to have my mushroom head be kind of right here in the center or a little bit to the left. Okay, so I did my kind of umbrella or rainbow. I want to see the underneath, so I'm going to have this front lip come up. And then that way I can go underneath. And then I like a little frilly thing like so. And then here, let's do a stem. So there's a cute little mushroom. And then after you have it drawn, you can make adjustments, okay? Don't feel like you have to stick with whatever it is that you started with. Okay. And then for my squatty guy, I'm going to have it a little bit closer together than in my reference. I'm going to have it go like here. I just love them so much. Okay, and then now I'm going to put where I want the white little bumps. Again, I did zero research on what these bumps are. I have no idea how they're spaced. I don't know. I don't know if they would grow all the way to the edge. I couldn't tell you. That's it. That's our drawing here. So I know that where my background is, where my foreground is, and where my mushrooms are. For the background, I want it to be a dark value. So I'm going to mix together undersea, green, lamp black, and phthalo. And I already have that pile kind of going on my palette. So I'm just going to reactivate that. And you can use along round 10, you can use a round 6, really whatever color you want. I'm going to start putting this color in. Now this initial stroke was probably a little bit too dark, which isn't the end of the world because I can just spread that color around. The tricky part is trying to get in between the mushrooms. So if you want to switch to a smaller brush or something, please feel free. Also, don't be afraid of a little bit of like hints of other color, you know? Like if you're feeling edgy, like you like to live on the edge, you can do a little drop of cute gold in there. What happens if you throw in some phthalo? You know, like have fun with it.
Is it scary being such a rebel? Or do you like it?
I like it. Okay. Boop, boop. I'm just, it probably would be easier for me if I switched to a smaller brush, but you know, being edgy.
In this instance, the pain is art. You know what I mean?
The what?
The pain of the large brush.
Oh, yeah. And make sure you paint edge to edge. And it's okay if the background doesn't have a perfectly smooth line. That's just going to add to like the textures of the foreground. The biggest thing is you want to make sure that your background is a darker value from your foreground. Okay, that's like pretty much the one thing that you need to make sure of. If they're the same value, then it's going to read as flat, which is just going to kind of mess up the viewer's eye of what's going on. So I'm going to dry that. And the reason why I'm drying this is because if I immediately went in and painted my foreground using a lighter value, my background, which is a really, like, it has a lot of paint, it's a dark value, all of that paint would move right into my foreground. So you want to make sure that this is dry before you attempt to do the foreground. You could paint it right away. You would just probably end up with actually a pretty even value. But look, this is where I dropped Q Gold. Isn't that cool?
Looks really cool.
And that's where I dropped Phthalo. So you can get those hints of blues and yellows and stuff in there, which I really like. Okay, now for the foreground, I want it to be more of like a yellow green. So I'm going to take some Q Gold. And I still have some green on my brush, so I can just keep that color. And I like to put the paint in and then rinse my brush and just use water to kind of spread it out. Trying not to paint into my stem, but if you do a little bit, it's not the end of the world. Okay. And let's do a little bit of like Q burnt orange because I just really like that color. It will like give it a brown, so just kind of be aware of that. So if you don't like brown, don't do this. And then I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of like dry brush of this color in here just to kind of mess up the lines to start to give the hint of the texture of the grass or something. Okay. We're going to let that dry for a second and we'll do some line work after to add the texture. I don't want to do that right now, or if you do it right now, you're just going to do it a tiny bit because let me show you. If I were to go in with like a green and start to do some stems, it's just going to bleed right out. And so I'm not really going to be able to keep those sharp marks. The nice thing is it is introducing like different colors and values within this area, which we want to get to. So it's not bad. So if you want to do it a little bit and then just leave yourself some room to do some grass textures later. Okay?
Perfect.
Now we're going to paint the mushroom cap. So I am going to use like yellow and red. So I'm going to start with Q Gold. And I'm going to be using a really small brush actually. So like a round 2. But you just want to make sure it's clean. Okay. So wherever the light is hitting the mushroom, that's where I'm going to put in this yellow. So I'm going to pretend that the light source is kind of coming from here up at the top. I'm going to be working around the white area. So I'm going to start with this Q Gold. Okay. And if you accidentally paint into the white areas, it's not the end of the world because we could always use bleed proof white. And then I'm going to take Q Coral.
Coral.
Where's your mother, Coral? And then I'm going to add red. And then wherever that red meets that gold, I'm going to paint into it a little bit so it turns orange. But not all of the yellow am I going to cover up. I want there to be like a little hint of yellow. You see that? And see how that's now reading as like a highlight?
Cool.
And then I'm just going to continue on with my red here. Working carefully, so carefully. And then if you want to do an extra push of value for that red mushroom, I'm going to get rid of this white. There we go. You're going to grab like a tiny bit of Q purple or like black or something to mix in with your red to make it like a deeper red. And you're going to put that along the edges here. And the reason why we're putting it along the edges is because we're trying to communicate that it's round, that it's moving away from the light and moving away from us. So it's going to be a darker value. I mean, hello. That is so cute.
Super cute.
We're gonna do the same thing on the smaller one. I'm not convinced of my little white guy, like white circles that I have here. So I'm just gonna paint over them and then do them in white because I feel like I could do a better job. So I'm gonna do yellow kind of on the top to the left, same that I did for the big red one. And then I'm gonna grab Coral, who knows where his mother is. So sad. Oh, I'm painting around the dots, even though I said I wouldn't. Get it together, Sarah. I just love a yellow highlight with a red. It's just, love it.
They just make me think of Mario.
Yes. Okay, and then if you want a little bit of dimension, you go ahead and mix that with, if I were you, I would prefer a purple mixture as opposed to a black mixture, because then it's just going to stay colorful. Sometimes the hard thing with using black in your color mixtures is that it grays out the color, where we want these to feel really, really bright. Okay, so cute. I feel like I need some brighter red though. I think the red got lost a little bit, so. There we go. Okay, now we're going to do the stem parts and like the underneath part. So in order to do that, I'm gonna mix a neutral. So neutrals are basically, you can do browns, or if you already have a brown color, just like add water to it, or you can mix browns by mixing complementary colors. So red and green, yellow and purple, or blue and orange. Okay, so any one of those is gonna give you a different hue of brown. Okay, sometimes it's gonna lean more blue or more purple or more orange or more red or more green. That's totally fine. I'm gonna go for, like, I have a lot of browns mixed on my palette. This one right here is from Q Burnt Orange and Lamp Black. So it's basically dark orange. I'm just gonna add some water to it. Okay. And then you wanna make sure that your mushroom tops are dry. And we're gonna just put a little bit of that in. I like to start with just doing like an initial stroke of color and then just using water to kind of spread that down. You'll notice that I'm not covering everything because I want there to be a little bit of like a highlight on my stem. And then I'm gonna have like the dark middle, or the middle of the mushroom that's kind of working around this frilly thing is gonna be where I'm gonna keep my values. Okay. And then there would be a shadow on top of this little frilly thing from the mushroom.
I think that's called a veil.
The veil?
Yeah.
There would be a shadow on the veil from the mushroom cap. And then we'll do some little detail lines going up it. This is so small that you don't really like have to worry too much about like the angles and stuff like that. Cause it's just like, as long as you have value and texture there, people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. I went a little bit too dark on this shadow, so I'm just gonna lift it up. And to lift, you just take a clean brush, put clean water on it, and then using that damp, clean brush, you just lift up. Okay. Now this guy, because it's kind of covering, we're not seeing the underside of it, right? So I'm just going to do a little bit of color on that stem, like so. Let's put some bleed-proof white on here. I didn't like how big the spots were that I initially outlined, so I'm just going to do a couple very top. And they're growths on top of the cap, so they would be kind of coming off of it a little bit. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you want to do, what did you call them? Gills?
Yes.
If you have enough room for gills, like I barely do, I'm just going to do like 1 or 2. You're just going to take that same brown that you've already mixed, and you're just going to have the lines wherever you start from the outside. It's going to end up right here where the, what is this thing called, honey?
Veil.
The veil meets the top of the mushroom. So it's going to go here, here. So just a little bit. I don't have enough room to really kind of do a lot of them. But you see, like just a hint is enough. All right, now we're on our last step. We're just going to add some grass textures, okay? So kind of like wherever these mushrooms are meeting right here, I'm going to have some grass.
All right, I have insight into the white spots.
Oh, okay, yes, please.
All right, so I don't know how much you guys know about mushrooms, but they're essentially the fruit of a fungus. They form underground, and then they push up through the dirt. They come up like the little one on the right, kind of like little stubs.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get taller, they open up and they spread spores, which are kind of like seeds. Okay?
Okay.
When they're growing underground, they're encased in a hard white casing.
Oh.
The veil is the bottom portion of it. It's kind of like a bag that goes around the red part so that it doesn't get damaged as it pushes up through the ground. Once it starts to grow and swell, the casing breaks apart.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Also,
I had no idea.
if you ever see red mushrooms, don't eat them. They are not good for you.
Don't eat the mushrooms. Okay. I just am mixing a little bit of bleed-proof white in with like greens so I can get some like lighter values of grass that will kind of stand out from my background. That, of course, is a personal preference. If you don't like that look, like please feel free to not include it. And then I'm going to do some light value grasses as well as some dark values right here within my foreground. You can see I have some like bright greens right here. I just grabbed a couple neo colors and did those. But for this example, I left that out just in case you didn't have neo colors. But I wanted to say for those that do, you can get some really cool like colors and textures within your grass if you have some neo colors. Okay. That's it. Should we untape it?
Yes.
Okay. You want to make sure it's dry. Now, if you're doing this as a gift, I will say that like making sure that it's flat is not going to be as important if you're painting it for these ornaments because like it's held between 2 pieces of glass. So like it's going to be flattened out. But if you want it to be as flat as you possibly can, you would leave this taped to your surface for probably like 24 hours. Untape it tomorrow. But I'm going to show you what it looks like right now. And we're going to pray that no bleeds happened. So far, so good. Yes. Yes.
Look at that clinging
Last
line.
one. Let's see. Oh, yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, my gosh. It is so cute. So then you just take this little ornament. You open it. You fit that right in there. Close it up. The hardest thing is trying to get it straight. And then you just slide this thing.
Boom.
And it's in there.
So cute.
So cute. There was something I was about to say. Oh, yeah. You might be wondering how thick of how many layers you can put in here. You can absolutely do a painting front and back. So if you wanted to paint 2 and then have it like this, because this is double-sided, right? It's 2 pieces of glass. That will fit. You can probably fit 1 more piece of paper in there. But I tried doing like 4 sheets of watercolor paper and it wouldn't close easily. So just kind of be aware of that. If you're going to order these and paint on them, that you can't put like a matting board or anything like that in there. But you can do the cutest little watercolor mushroom you've ever seen. Ever.
I will hear no arguments.
That's right. Okay. Thank you guys so much for painting with me. I hope you have fun with this. It's just a joy and it's so cute to paint small things. If you want these ornaments, you can find them at letsmakeart.com. I have one other tutorial where I did a fall like sunset type of thing. So anyways, I hope you have fun with them. I had a blast making this, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.